My wife tried to steal 60% of my fortune in our divorce. But I had been recording everything for 3 years. You won't believe what my wife Vanessa tried to do when she thought she could destroy me in our divorce and walk away with $24 million of my hard-earned fortune. For 3 years, she had been planning the perfect scheme to take 60% of everything I owned by claiming I was abusive, hiding assets, and emotionally destroying her. But what Vanessa didn't know was that I had been secretly recording every conversation, documenting every lie, and building a case that would expose her as the manipulative gold digger she really was. By the time I played those recordings in court, she lost everything and walked away with nothing but a criminal record. My name is Jonathan, and I'm 45 years old. I built my wealth over 20 years through smart real estate investments and successful business ventures that eventually made me worth approximately $40 million. 3 years ago, I started noticing changes in my wife Vanessa that made me suspicious about her true feelings toward me and our marriage. What began as subtle signs of greed and manipulation gradually revealed itself as an elaborate long-term plan to divorce me and steal the majority of my fortune through false accusations and legal manipulation. Vanessa and I had been married for 8 years when I first started suspecting that she was more interested in my money than in our relationship. We met when she was working as a marketing coordinator, and I was already financially successful, but not wealthy enough to attract obvious gold diggers. At first, Vanessa seemed genuinely attracted to me as a person and interested in building a life together based on love and compatibility. But as my wealth grew significantly through several major business deals, I noticed that Vanessa's behavior toward me changed in subtle but concerning ways. She became more demanding about expensive purchases, more critical of my spending decisions, and more interested in understanding exactly how much money I had and where it was invested. "Jonathan, I think we should review our financial portfolio together," Vanessa suggested about 3 years ago. "As your wife, I should understand our investments and be involved in major financial decisions." Her request seemed reasonable on the surface, but something about her tone and timing made me feel like she was more interested in inventorying my assets than in genuine financial partnership. I started paying closer attention to her questions and comments about money, and I began to suspect that Vanessa was planning something that would require detailed knowledge of my wealth. Around the same time, Vanessa started making subtle complaints about our marriage that seemed designed to create a record of dissatisfaction and unhappiness. She would make comments about feeling neglected, unappreciated, or emotionally distant from me, but always in ways that felt calculated rather than genuine. "Jonathan, I feel like you care more about your business deals than about our relationship," Vanessa would say during conversations that felt more like performances than authentic discussions. "I'm starting to feel like I married a workaholic who doesn't have time for emotional intimacy." Her complaints were vague and difficult to address because they weren't based on specific incidents or genuine concerns. When I asked for examples or suggestions about how to improve our relationship, Vanessa would give evasive answers that made me feel like she was more interested in establishing a narrative than in actually solving problems. But what really made me suspicious was discovering that Vanessa had been secretly consulting with divorce attorneys and researching strategies for maximizing settlement amounts in high-asset divorces. I found evidence of her research on our shared computer, including articles about claiming emotional abuse, proving financial misconduct, and securing large alimony payments. That's when I made the decision that would ultimately save my fortune and expose Vanessa's true character. I started secretly recording our conversations to document her real motivations and protect myself against whatever false accusations she might be planning. I installed small recording devices in our home office, living room, and bedroom that would capture our private conversations without Vanessa's knowledge. I also started recording phone calls and keeping detailed notes about her behavior, comments, and any evidence of her planning to divorce me. What I discovered over the following months was absolutely shocking. When Vanessa thought I wasn't listening or paying attention, she would have phone conversations with her friends and family members that revealed her true feelings about our marriage and her plans for our divorce. "I'm so tired of pretending to be happy with Jonathan," I heard Vanessa tell her sister during one recorded phone call. "He's boring and obsessed with work, but he's worth $40 million, so I need to be strategic about how I handle this divorce." Vanessa went on to explain that she had been researching divorce laws and had learned that wives could claim up to 60% of marital assets in cases involving emotional abuse or financial misconduct by their husbands. "My lawyer says that if I can prove Jonathan was emotionally abusive or hiding money from me, I could get $24 million instead of just half," Vanessa continued. "I'm going to start documenting incidents of emotional abuse and gathering evidence that he's been lying about his income." Hearing my wife casually discuss fabricating abuse allegations against me was devastating, but it also confirmed that my decision to record our conversations had been absolutely necessary to protect myself. Over the following months, I recorded dozens of conversations where Vanessa discussed her divorce strategy with friends, family members, and legal advisors. She talked about creating false evidence of emotional abuse, claiming that I had hidden assets from her, and presenting herself as a victim who deserved maximum compensation for years of suffering. "Jonathan thinks I'm just a stupid housewife who doesn't understand business or money," Vanessa told her divorce attorney during one recorded phone call. "But I've been documenting everything for months, and I'm going to take him for everything he's worth." Vanessa also started deliberately provoking arguments with me, and then claiming that I had been verbally abusive or emotionally cruel during our disagreements. She would escalate minor discussions into dramatic confrontations, and then tell her friends that I had been screaming at her or making her feel unsafe. "Jonathan completely lost his temper with me again last night," Vanessa would tell her friends after arguments that had been completely civil and normal. "I'm starting to feel scared of him when he gets angry. I think I need to start protecting myself legally." But because I was recording everything, I had proof that Vanessa was lying about our interactions and deliberately creating false narratives about my behavior toward her. The most disturbing discovery was learning that Vanessa had been working with a private investigator to try to find evidence that I was hiding money or assets from her. She suspected that my reported income was lower than my actual earnings, and wanted to prove that I had been lying about our financial situation. "I know Jonathan is making more money than he's telling me," Vanessa told the private investigator during a recorded meeting at our house. "I want you to find his hidden accounts and prove that he's been cheating me out of my rightful share of his wealth." Vanessa's paranoia about hidden assets was ironic, because I had always been completely transparent about my finances with her. She had access to all of our account information and was aware of all my major investments and business dealings. But Vanessa's greed had convinced her that I must be hiding additional wealth that she could claim in our divorce. She was willing to spend thousands of dollars on private investigators and legal fees based on nothing more than her suspicions and desire for more money. After 18 months of recording Vanessa's conversations and documenting her divorce planning, she finally announced that she wanted to separate and pursue a divorce. She presented her decision as the result of years of unhappiness and emotional neglect, claiming that I had been a terrible husband who cared more about money than about our marriage. "Jonathan, I can't continue living in a marriage where I feel unloved and unappreciated," Vanessa said during what she thought was a private conversation that would support her victim narrative. "You've made me feel worthless and invisible for years, and I deserve better than this emotional abuse." But I had recordings of Vanessa telling her friends that she felt no emotional connection to me and was only staying married for financial security until she could figure out how to maximize her divorce settlement. Vanessa moved out of our house and immediately filed for divorce, claiming that I had been emotionally abusive, financially controlling, and deliberately hiding assets from her. Her divorce petition requested 60% of our marital assets, claiming that she deserved additional compensation for the emotional damage I had allegedly caused her. Mrs. Henderson is seeking $24 million in assets and $50,000 per month in permanent alimony, Vanessa's attorney announced during our first court hearing. Mr. Henderson has subjected our client to years of emotional abuse and financial manipulation that entitle her to more than the standard 50% division of marital property. Vanessa's attorney presented a case that painted me as a controlling, abusive husband who had deliberately kept his wife in the dark about their financial situation while emotionally destroying her self-esteem and mental health. But I had been waiting 3 years for this moment, and I was ready to present evidence that would completely destroy Vanessa's false narrative and expose her as a calculating gold digger who had been planning this divorce for years. My attorney requested permission to present audio evidence of the plaintiff's true motivations and character, and the judge agreed to hear the recordings I had made of Vanessa's private conversations. The first recording we played was Vanessa telling her sister that she was planning to take Jonathan for everything he's worth by claiming emotional abuse and financial misconduct. "I'm so tired of pretending to be happy with Jonathan. He's boring and obsessed with work, but he's worth $40 million, so I need to be strategic about how I handle this divorce." The courtroom was completely silent as Vanessa's own voice revealed her true motivations for seeking divorce. Her attorney looked shocked and tried to object to the admissibility of the recordings, but the judge ruled that they were relevant to determining the credibility of Vanessa's abuse claims. We played dozens of additional recordings over the course of 3 days, each one revealing more evidence of Vanessa's calculated planning and false allegations. "My lawyer says that if I can prove Jonathan was emotionally abusive or hiding money from me, I could get $24 million instead of just half. Jonathan thinks I'm just a stupid housewife who doesn't understand business or money, but I've been documenting everything for months, and I'm going to take him for everything he's worth. I know Jonathan is making more money than he's telling me. I want you to find his hidden accounts and prove that he's been cheating me out of my rightful share of his wealth." Each recording was more damaging than the last, completely undermining Vanessa's claims of being an innocent victim of emotional abuse and financial manipulation. But the most devastating evidence was a recording of Vanessa laughing with her friends about how she was going to destroy Jonathan in court and make him pay for being such a boring husband. "I'm going to take everything from him and then find a younger, more exciting man to spend his money with," Vanessa said during one particularly damaging recording. "Jonathan will regret the day he married someone smarter than he thought she was." By the time we finished presenting our evidence, Vanessa's credibility had been completely destroyed. The judge was clearly disgusted by the recordings and made several comments about the serious nature of false abuse allegations and fraudulent divorce claims. "Mrs. Henderson, these recordings reveal a pattern of calculated deception and fraudulent claims that completely undermine your petition for additional marital assets," the judge said during his ruling. "Your own words prove that you have made false allegations against your husband for financial gain." The judge not only denied Vanessa's request for 60% of my assets, but also awarded me additional compensation for legal fees and emotional damages caused by her false accusations. Mr. Henderson will retain 95% of his premarital and business assets, while Mrs. Henderson will receive only those assets that can be clearly identified as joint marital property acquired during their marriage. Vanessa's final settlement was approximately $800,000, a fraction of the $24 million she had been planning to steal from me through false accusations and legal manipulation. But the judge wasn't finished with Vanessa's consequences. He also referred her case to the district attorney's office for potential prosecution for fraud, perjury, and filing false police reports. Mrs. Henderson's documented pattern of planning false allegations and fraudulent claims may constitute criminal behavior that should be investigated by law enforcement, the judge stated in his final ruling. 6 months later, Vanessa was charged with fraud and perjury related to her false divorce claims. She eventually pled guilty to reduced charges and was sentenced to 2 years of probation and community service. Meanwhile, I was able to keep my fortune intact and rebuild my life without the constant threat of false accusations and manipulation. The woman who had tried to steal $24 million from me through lies and legal fraud ended up with less than $1 million and a criminal record that will follow her for the rest of her life. Sometimes, the best defense against gold diggers and manipulative spouses is simply documenting their true character and motivations. Vanessa thought she was smarter than me, but she underestimated my ability to protect myself and expose her schemes. The recordings that I made over 3 years didn't just save my fortune, they revealed the truth about what my marriage had really been and protected me from years of legal battles and false accusations. Vanessa learned that trying to steal someone's life savings through false abuse claims has serious consequences, and that some people are smarter and more prepared than gold diggers expect them to be.